Hello everyone, welcome back to the very beautiful St James's Park on a very windy, you can tell autumn's here, can't you? We're talking about three things today. Ticketing, because it's a massive issue for many fans, and the scandal at the moment that's been going around. We'll also talk about Amanda Staveley's podcast with Jake Humphries, which was brilliant. It was really emotional, and we'll also jump on the whiteboard. So a lot coming up in this mammoth video for you. Right everyone, so we're outside the box office, and of course Newcastle have been in the news quite a lot recently regarding tickets, and it's always a passionate debate among supporters about tickets. And obviously the club announced that they had cancelled 103 season tickets for the misuse of it and potentially selling them on to gain a profit. Now if you do that, you've got to ask yourself the question then, do you actually support Newcastle United? Because if you're continuously selling your ticket, I mean, it's a privilege to come here. It's a privilege to go to away days. It's a privilege to go to Champions League games. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be there making a profit. But they've been caught out. Now, this has been going on for many a year. And I don't know how this has been kept under the wraps, because this apparently was happening under Mike Ashley. And the club have only just detected this. Now, Craig Hope says that club staff knew about it. I mean, if that's true, that is scandalous by some of the staff that know about this. And look, it happens, right? Because you can get groups from Sweden, the US, Asia. A lot of fans will come together, a supporters group will have tickets. They've been making profits for so long, and the average fan is clamming and dying to get to a game. And I feel for you who can't get to games, because this sort of stuff shouldn't be happening. Now, the whole balloting system is very, very much up for debate, because a lot of people put a lot of money into memberships and they get a 1 game, 2 games maximum. Some, I've even heard, haven't even got lucky at all. And I'll be missing the Union SG games because the threshold is 200 points. Now that's fine by me. I don't mind that. I haven't got enough points criteria to hit that. I respect that. Other people have been going for so many years, deserve to go because they've shown the loyalty to the club. I think that's fair how the away system works. However, what I don't agree with is going back to the ballot system once more. Is because someone has 195 points and they've missed out on a ticket, and a small portion of away tickets get put in a ballot so the average fan who declares their interest can get to a game. So, for an example, a fan who's on 195 points misses out. However, a fan who's on 2 or 3 points gets to go to Champions League away day. How is that fair? For me, ballots on away days, scrap them. It should literally be a point system. Cooperative. Now, this has been going on for years. I say it all the time, especially London games, especially Spurs. Staff get put into ballots for them to win tickets and what have you. But the allocation at Anlect isn't great. But this has been going on for years. I mean, for Bournemouth away, I'm at the threshold. I've got plenty of points to go to Bournemouth, can't Union. But someone who's got just under the threshold was likely to miss out because someone else who's got 2 or 3 points has been successful in the ballot. I didn't think that's fair. I didn't. But look, the whole ticketing thing goes on and on and on. We can go on about this and how people get tickets, and touting goes on third-party websites and stuff. And look, are ballots actually working? That's the question. Is it fair? That's the question. We're also the only club, according to Newcastle Supporters Club, who doesn't publish the allocation for away days. They're the only team. We're the only team in the Champions League who does this. Now, I also want to touch upon about scammers. Just look after yourselves. Look, we're in a great position where we've got Champions League football. Just look after yourself. If it's too good to be true, don't buy it. Do not buy from individuals. Buy from legitimate people. Look at the history. Do your research. And now you're desperate to go, like anybody is. But please, don't get scammed. Watch out for the fraudsters. They're there to make money. So as I say, I don't have enough loyalty points to get to Belgium, which is unfortunate. But someone who's gone a lot less than me will get the lucky chance to go. However, I'm still going to go over, support the team from the fan zone, and I'm probably going to get a camper van. So I'm still going to be there in spirit. Okay, so we've moved to the new layout just opposite Shearer's Bar, and we want to talk about Amanda Staveley in an interview. Have you watched it yet? Please do after this video if you haven't. It is brilliant, so open. And by God, do we miss her. We miss her immensely. I don't know how people can say that they don't, because she was the heartbeat. She cared so much about the women, the men, both teams, the supporters, the club growing, the hope, the joy, you name it. Amanda said that she was worried about players' welfare in general. She was asked the question that they need to have rest, take time for themselves, including even if they've got a baby. Sleep, rest, mental health is so important for players because of social media. They don't have a normal life. Yes, you might say that they are loaded and rich, but they can't just walk down the street to the shop like we can. Admit you wanted to buy Liverpool, but the hook of Newcastle United was there. She loved the atmosphere at St James's Park, and someone sent her a photo of the plane flying over the stadium saying save our club. She said that she's worked with the PIF for over 4 years before purchasing Newcastle. She knew PIF were the right partners for the project, and at Newcastle everything had to be done from scratch, even from drafting contracts to players. I mean, that's mad, isn't it? Let's face it, you're walking into a club and it's effectively amateurish, and everything has to be done from scratch. So you're basically a Premier League club, you're building it from scratch, which is quite astonishing and neglectful of the previous regime. Over 30 people were interviewed for the Newcastle job. A lot of talk on the podcast was around Unai Emery and Eddie Howe, and those were the two standouts. And agents were telling Amanda, look, you don't really want to go for Eddie Howe, you know, he's got a relegation on him, and you don't want to be looking like you're coming to a brand new club and you get it wrong and stuff like this. But she was adamant. Eddie Howe impressed her after the interviews, and Rumian didn't really speak to Unai Emery, but he did have the chance to speak to Eddie Howe. They wanted someone who would also be involved in day-to-day with the training. I mean, that sentence alone, I mean, that's a reference to the previous manager. Of course it is, because now that he didn't bother doing much training, was Eddie Howe's a workaholic. She wanted that, she's seen that in Eddie, and Unai would be great for Newcastle. However, Eddie Howe impressed Amanda Staveley immensely. So, as we all know, Eddie Howe got the job. She also went on to say that the training ground was an absolute joke. Can you imagine trying to sign a player and he's showing them that training ground? So the idea behind herself, Miadad, the Rubin family, PIF, was, look, we need to invest in the current training ground as soon as possible, because players are going to walk through that door and think, what have I got myself into? There was no cryotherapy, the food was poor. She went on to say that the facilities were shocking. And then we got a little bit emotional. Amanda got upset when she heard that Jake read out a lovely message from a Newcastle supporters fan page that she got upset. She went on to say that leaving the club was the hardest thing that she had to do. She loves the Toon Army, she loves us, the fans, the connection that she has with Newcastle. She says it was just amazing. Occasionally she admitted that she was sleeping in separate beds to Miadad because of the stress of just managing Newcastle as they work together. You've also got to remember that they live together, work together. So that in itself, I would imagine, would be pretty difficult. She tried holding it all in, speaking about Miadad. She was getting emotional once more, how he supports her and the current world that we all live in today. She learns more from having a son. How does she always show empathy? If she makes someone happy, that gives her the massive boost. That goes a long way for her. Later in the interview, she talked about Huntington's disease. She was starting to get upset, speaking about Miadad's understanding, the support and love that Miadad shows her. Going back to the club now, when she admitted that the PSR was tough after spending a lot to get the club to compete. Because remember that when they came in, we did spend a lot of money just to try and get us competing higher at the other end. Obviously, then went on to talk about having to sell Elliot Anderson and Yakuba Minter. And she honestly said that she felt guilty for those players. However, we sold Minter for a massive profit, and Elliot Anderson, obviously, as we know at the moment, is doing bits for Nottingham Forest and England now. And no doubt Elliot Anderson will come back. And she went on to say, again, referencing back to Eddie Howe, that she loves his hard graft, the way he is, he presents himself, how he's positive, and his ability after getting to know him. So she also went on to speak about Sandro Tonali's issue and how hard it is for him to come into a foreign country and the mental impact that would have had on him. But the support that the club that he had around him was key for Amanda. They wanted everything to push the support, because it's the person, because you've got an addiction and you've got to support that person. She was really passionate about that. She said that Sandro needed a lot of love and he would get it from Newcastle. She said that you'll get time off, you'll still be able to train, you can learn the language, you can acclimatise to Newcastle. Amanda also seeked help from Kieran Trippier to help him. And also she did mention that the two Brazilians, and Joe Linton and Bruno Gomes, were also supportive of Tonali. And then just going back later in the interview, she went back to talking about her dad, her uni days, the Huntington's disease, in particular what it is and how there's no cure at the moment. She described it as like having Parkinson's with Alzheimer's. And she also went on to speak about how her son was prematurely born, and then she was advised of termination. So really hard-hitting podcast. I urge you to go and watch it. It's a lot about Newcastle United, and it's a lot about a personal life and a business adventures, and You know, she gets emotional 2 or 3 times in that interview. It's a really good watch, so please do go over and head and watch that. Right, we're going to jump back home because it is starting to rain. I'm going to jump on the whiteboard and we'll talk about a big game that's here at St James's Park. Barcelona coming to town. Right, everyone, so here's the Barcelona lineup that I think that'll go with. Now, they do have a few injuries, just to quickly mention. Frankie de Jong, Lamine Yamal, Marc-Andre Sturgeon, Gavi, and Balde, who'll normally play left back, just to name a few. However, obviously you might have seen that they absolutely battered Valencia 6-0. Lewandowski came off the bench and scored. He'll start, and Rafinha will start as well. I'm going to go with Fermin Lopez. I think he'll start rather than actually Dani Olmo because he scored 2 goals. And then you got the back four of Koundé, Eric Garcia, of course, former Man City defender Kabassi Martin, and Juan Garcia, their new signing from City rivals Espanyol. We will link to him in the summer. Pedri, talented midfielder, of course, and Casado. Now, obviously, we all look at Rashford. We know about him. We know his game. You started okay at Barcelona. He has scored a few goals down the years past us, notably the League Cup final, so no doubt he will want to cut in. So I think that'll be Trippier. Give you a clue on the Newcastle lineup. I think that'll be Trippier against Rashford. Of course, Lewandowski, now he's obviously been sporting a Newcastle top when he was young. He loved Alan Shearer as a kid. That was his hero, so he got given a Shearer's top. And Rafinha, who's gone on leaps and bounds since leaving Leeds. So, Pedri will obviously try and dictate the play. So expect him to get on the ball and feed in the little pockets where he can. Now, Lewandowski is just class. Despite his age, he has any sniff of a chance, whether it's from Rafinha, whether it's Rashford, because obviously Barcelona play with inverted wingers. Any chance that he gets, 9 times out of 10, he's going to put it away. Fabian Schär, Dan Burn need to be red hot with his movement despite his age, and also the fullbacks need to stop the supply coming in because he is a goal-scoring machine. Rafinha, as I say, has gone on another level. He has vastly improved, and that's probably been a disservice when he's at Leeds because since he's gone to Barcelona, he's just become one hell of an even better player for me. I think if you look at that, where are the defensive issues for me is, well, actually, before we come on to the defence, I'll just talk about him in general. Fermin Lopez, I don't know if you've seen the goals that he scored against Valencia. One of them was here, if you've seen it, when he was played through and he just side-foot to home. It was absolutely class. And then the other one was a long-range distance from about here, which realistically the goalkeeper should be doing better. So, this for me is probably where they're the weak spot. You would see it on paper, but it's not played on paper. So, for me, I don't think Barcelona will go gung-hung attack like they did against Valencia. Now, Valencia's defending was absolutely shocking. However, I think Newcastle will high press in the first half, but I'm worried about the intensity dropping off a little bit because as soon as they start getting on the ball and ticky-tack out and moving it around, it's going to be very difficult for Newcastle to get off the ball. And I think we need to start looking at this. Nick Valdemade, for me, needs to come in the pockets. Never mind occupying, because these 2 defenders will not want to come out. So we're going to have Nick Valdemade, and then we're going to need with full-backs and with attackers to bomb on. But be wary of the counter because they're so good on the ball. We're playing a very, very dangerous side, and don't be too surprised that they have a hell of a lot more possession than what we do. And, of course, they've got options from the bench to change it later. Notably, in my opinion, Dani Olmo, who's incredibly underrated. What a player he is, by the way. So here's the Newcastle lineup. There'll be one change for me. Anthony Gordon will come in for Harvey Barnes. Barnes has been really poor. Gordon, of course, is serving a domestic suspension, but he's back and he starts, and I think he will. And let's have a look at it then. So, the usual back 4, back 5. Apologies, I've not got the surnames, so if you are a Barcelona fan, we've gone with some nicknames of Tino, Bruno, Big Joe, just to name a few. But later on in the game, I think, I was humming and hawing about Elanga, but because Murphy got the assist, had a couple of shots, I think his teamwork will be key in particular. I think you will see a substitution a little bit later with Murphy and Elanga. I think that's going to happen because Elanga will stretch the pace, especially if we need to get a goal. Barcelona are not going to play that, especially when Balde's missing as well, because he can match Murphy, but he's going to miss out the game. So I think that's one that we can look at. As I touched upon already, I want to see Nick Valdemade. Yes, get the balls in, get the crosses in, which we'll love from Jacob Murphy, but if he's not getting on the ball, I want to see him start picking up the ball deep and then maybe moving around if he can. because he's got the ability to do that. So if he feels isolated, you might have to come in and play as the 10 to try and get on the ball, especially with Barcelona like the tiki-taka and keep a hold of the ball. Don't be too surprised if we see that. Toon Army, this is his time to shine. Joe pulled me in the street the other day when I was driving past him and asked me who's going to be the star player in this season's Champions League for us. I think it all depends on Toon Army. Yes, Bruno has his qualities. Joe Linton has his qualities as well. But for me, get this lad on the ball. Get him on the ball and Newcastle United will play. Now, Barcelona will be up against probably a player that they haven't came across in La Liga in someone the physique, because Joe Linton doesn't look like a box-to-box centre midfielder. He looks like a powerhouse of maybe a centre-back or a centre-forward. Of course, naturally, well, I say naturally, unnaturally, he was signed as that, but he's got the physique of a striker. But that'll be interesting to see the battles with Joe Linton knocking over a little Pedri. That'll be interesting, put it that way. Bruno, of course, I think we're due performance. You can't be inconsistent, have a good game, have a poor game. I want to see that. That for me in Barcelona press, as in the media, have been talking about these three. This is where the talk's been from, Joe Linton, Bruno and Toon Army. They see all of this three is our strength. The media have been hyping up the midfield three, so they think that this is our strength. And to a degree, they're largely right, because if they perform, Newcastle will get a result. However, as I touched upon Nick Valdemade, if he can come in the pockets. Now, over on here, Howard Gordon, give us a performance. I know you've apologised for the reckless red card, but get a performance, attack Kunde. If you have to go down the byline, if you have to come inbound, do it. I want to see a performance from you. Remind us of, you know what, all is forgiven. Tino Livramento, I don't want him having to defend. I want to see him have that authority and to attack, because we'll want to put Barcelona on the back foot. I think the experience of these three is vital in this game. The atmosphere is going to be absolutely wild. Dan Burns played in this before. Fabian Schär's played in it. Kieran Trippier has. In fact, loads of them have from that PSG night. Calm heads, but be wary, as I touched upon before, of Lewandowski's movement. We don't want to see Nick Pope being peppered with shots, because he has started the season well, but we don't want the goalkeeper being busy at home in the Champions League. We've seen a lot of the teams that we're going to be facing in the Champions League this season get beat on Tuesday night. So Newcastle, if they can get off to a good start, maybe a point. It's intriguing, isn't it? It's intriguing. Obviously, we don't have Ramsey. Obviously, we don't have Vissa there missing as well. So we've got a couple of injury problems ourselves. But intriguing. I want to know your score predictions of this. I'm going to say score draw. That's what I'm going to go out and say. But let's get back to St James's Park now that we've wrapped this up. So there you go, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed all of that. Let us know how you feel about the whole ticketing thing, because everyone's passionate about that. The Staveley interview, the podcast, and of course the whiteboard with Barcelona coming up. I can't wait for it now. It's coming very soon. We've got a live later on tonight, a very special live, so do join us later on the channel for that, of course. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to love you and leave you, and we'll see you very soon here on Newcastle Fans TV.